Alright, let's do chopsticks. Chopsticks is in 3/4 time. It's probably 6/8 time, but to me they're about the same. Anyways, all songs that have the word waltz in them are in 3/4 time. Tennessee Waltz, the Blue Danube Waltz, anyways, those are 3/4 time. 3/4 time is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You've got a metronome on your keyboard. I'd use it in waltz time or 3/4 time and start off slowly and increase the speed as you get steady. There are 2 chords in this song. First chord, it's in the key of C, so it's the white notes. And the first chord is a G7. Here's a G, and you add this F to the G to make it a G7. Remember, it's 2 down from the root. And the other chord is a C chord. So it's a 1 and it's a 5, but it starts off on the 5 and then it goes to the 1. So it's a G7th and a C. Okay? Now, if you play all the notes in a G7 and also all the notes in a C at the same time, and you've got G up there at the top and the bottom, and move that G away, all the white notes are represented except A. You've got B, C, D, E, F, and G. That's important later in the melody, and I'll talk about that later. Alright, there are 2 melody patterns. The song is called Chopsticks because it's a duet, and in the bass it's usually 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See, that's a G and a C. And that's what one person will be playing on the bass, while the other child up at the top with single fingers look like chopsticks is doing this. Okay? Now, the first run here is, the first note is 6 of these. Now this is a G and an F. Now if you look at this, here's a G7th chord, you move this G up here. If you take everything else away, you've got a G and an F, and those are in the G7th chord, and that's what you're playing down here. Hit that 6 times, and then you move this finger down once, so you're hitting an E and a G, and those are the last 2 notes in a C chord. Hit that 6 times, and then you go back down to the G again. You move this guy up 2 and this guy down 1, so you're playing the B and the D, which is in a G chord. The last chord's a C chord, and you're hitting just C octave, and then you run it down. So, okay, that's the first run. The second run is of thirds, which means we skip a white note in between, and you just play 2 at a time. All right, now this first part, it starts on a C with the first and the third of a C, but it quickly goes to these 2 notes, which is the 3rd and the 5th of a G chord, and you're in the G chord at that time. So and that's also a G chord. You got the 1st and the 3rd of the G chord, and then it goes down quickly to the C chord, and then these 2 notes are in the G7th chord. These 2 notes, and those 2 notes are in the C chord. So the notes that you're playing in these thirds match up with the chords that you're playing down below. Alright, I'm going to play it through one time with about a dozen or so different bass patterns, and then I'm going to walk you through each of these bass patterns one at a time. I'm going to do a couple different melody patterns too, and then show you what this is all about. Alright, here goes. I'm going to start off with whole notes and just single notes in the bass, and then I'm going to add a whole bunch of different things to it. most of those bass patterns that we just went through, and each time you do it, learn each one of these bass patterns, find the ones that are easy for you to do and that sound good with this song. And what I'm showing you here is just the tip of the iceberg. You can change these up and do them any way you want. Alright, the first thing I did was just single notes with the G chord and the C chord. And I did whole notes, so it's... Now you can do half notes, where you play it twice each. Or you can do thirds, hit the first and third, which is the G and the B for the G chord, and the C and the E for the E chord, for the C chord. You can do fifths, hit the first and the fifth, and the first and the fifth. Okay, you can break these chords up and arpeggiate them. One way is to hit the bass, and then the third, fifth, 1, 3, 5. Another way is just to hit the first and the fifth, first, fifth. Just hit the first and the third. And you need to mix these up. One time you can do it fifths, and then the second time you can do it thirds. Alright, but the way I like to do it the most, and the sweetest thing about 3/4 songs is, if you're using a 3-note chord, all you gotta do is hit the 3 notes in the chord, and it gives you the timing. What that means is, for a G chord, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Since these are 3-note chords, you got every note you need. Alright, now so far, all these chords I've been playing have been played at the root at the first position. Which means the G chord I've been playing with the G down here at the bottom, and with the C chord I've been playing with the C down here at the bottom. As I've told you in another lesson, you can, this is the G7th you're playing, so you don't have to play, you only want to play 3 of these notes, so let's take this G off of the bottom, and just play these 3. Look how easy that is, because you're just moving from a C down one note down. Where it gets good. Now, it's a G7, this is the next note up on the scale, so let's take these 2 bottom things away and just play these 3 notes, and that's just as good. And you can decide which ones work best with your chord. You can do these 3 notes. That's a G7th chord, well, let's take off the D and the G and play just these 3. So you can pick any of those to do with this in any speed and rate that you want, and it'll make it sound like you know what you're doing. Alright, remember earlier when I showed you, if you play both these chords at the same time, take the G away from the bottom, you've represented all the white notes. The reason that's important is, to play melodies up here, all you got to do is hit a white note and you're pretty much safe, because it's going to be in either that chord or that chord that you're playing. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind is, when you play a G and a C, they have a mutual note. The G note is in the G chord, in the C chord. It's also, the G note is in the G chord. So that, if you land on that note at the end of any phrase, you're going to be safe. When you get down to the C chord, you want to end up on a C. And I'm going to run up and down the scale and show you what I'm talking about. We're going to do this one because it's the easy one. See, all I'm doing is hitting white notes. Sometimes I'm hitting them next to each other, sometimes I'm skipping around. It's okay to hit the A even though it's not represented, as long as you don't spend a lot of time on it. Just like when you're doing this part of the song. If you notice, the areas where you're not spending a lot of time aren't in the chord. You're not spending a lot of time on this one, but you are spending more time on this one. But you see, you're jumping across this one to get back to the G chord again. C chord again. Okay, so practice with this, find out the ones that are easiest for you on here and play that melody along with this. Now this is all fine and good for this song. You can learn this in other keys if you want to do it in the key of F. You know, F has one flat in it, so it's similar to do. And the two chords would be a C7 and an F, so it would be. Let's not worry about changing keys right now. This is all fine and good for this song, and this is a very simple song with just two chords, but once you learn these techniques, this is what 3/4 songs are all about. You can take this and play any 3/4 song you want and make it look like you really know how to play music. Let me give you a couple show-off quick examples. One is like Chim Chim Cheree from Mary Poppins. Down here, but I'm going to arpeggiate it and show you what I'm talking about. So anyways, all I'm doing is just playing chords here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then once you learn your chords, it becomes very simple to do this. Other just simple songs like the Tennessee Waltz. It's a 1, 4, 5 in C and F and G. And other songs you play a little bit faster, like 6/8 time, like Off to See the Wizard. See, it's just a C and a G, just like that. Sounds like I'm doing all sorts of stuff there, but I'm just doing a 1, a 2, a 4, a 5, a 6, and then a D chord and a G. But it's you just have to keep the melody along with it. Anyways, that's what 3/4s are all about, and once you learn chopsticks and really learn all your bass runs, you can play any 3/4 song you want and make it sound pretty nice. You can just use these same bass patterns that I showed you. Have fun, practice just like all the other lessons, learn one pattern really well before you move on to the next, and then keep incorporating it, adding them on. Have fun. Telephone.